Hello and welcome into Tobacco Road and Abroad. My name's Gareth Parsons, joined by Aiden Moore, and we've got quite a slate to discuss with y'all tonight. Some college football, some NFL, some UCF controversy, not UCF, UFC controversy. Not really controversy, but not great. Not some not good things happened.
That card fucking sucked.
I mean, you just want to start with that.
You know
We'll
what?
start with
Let's start.
UFC.
Let's start with it. I mean, Aiden's talking about UFC, so our viewership probably already dropped. But anyway, UFC 321 happened like this past weekend. That was a damn waste of time. That card sucked. Um, Main takeaway. So we finally had the heavyweight title fight that we've been waiting for in Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gahn. It was like the heavyweight division has been held up for so long. It's not even funny. John Jones is finally retired. We send his ass to the old folks' home. He's gone. And finally, we have our title fight. It's going to happen. And it ends in a no contest. Freaking Cyril Gahn, and I'll say this from the limited like time that we saw, like almost like through round one, like Cyril Gahn looked really good, and he was kind of putting it on Tom Aspinall, but he literally gouges at Tom Aspinall's eyes, and the fight has to end from there. Like you can see like the replays and you can see it. It's a bad. It's not like a slight little graze. Like he reaches out and like I'm not saying it like purposely does it, but he like digs in there with his hands, and it looked really bad. Tom Aspinall basically kind of like, not that he lost his eye, but he kind of lost his eye for the fight, so it had to stop. You can't fight in a heavy like yes, there are fighters who have one eye and all that stuff. Tom Aspinall needs to fight on with two eyes. He has two healthy eyes, and unfortunately, Cyril Gahn just couldn't keep his paws, like couldn't close his fists, and the fight has to end in a no contest. Tom Aspinall retains the belt, like he keeps it, but there has to be a rematch because Cyril Gahn was looking pretty good in this fight. I didn't predict him to be looking as good as he did in this fight. I thought Tom Aspinall was going to take this fight a little bit more serious. I think Tom Aspinall was kind of taken off like a little bit. Like I don't think he was taking this fight too seriously, and he was kind of paying for it because Cyril Gane was putting it on him. Like it wasn't like a total beatdown, but uh, Gane wins like the significant strikes advantage. It was pretty even, but Gane kind of looked like he had Aspinall on the ropes. But he gouges his eye. The fight needs to stop. So it ends in a no contest. I'm hoping there's going to be a rematch for this soon because we need to see the winner of this fight. But a very disappointing, big letdown for this card. Other than that, this card was just very lackluster. We got Mackenzie Dern winning in a unanimous decision against Verena Jaroba, Jadarioba. It kind of a little bit of a boring fight, but Mackenzie Dern gets it done. Umar Nurmagomedov gets the unanimous decision win over Mario Batista. Judges scored that one 30-27. All three judges scored that. Umar wins all three rounds. Back to the heavyweight division, we got Alexander Volkov winning against Jolton Almeida. Alexander Volkov, he looked a little bit better in this one. It's a split decision. Two judges scored it in Alexander Volkov's way, one to Jelton. But I think Alexander Volkov looked a lot better in this fight than I expected him to. I kind of thought he was a little bit washed, but good to see him to get a win. The split decision, though, and uh, that's pretty much it. The rest of this fight was kind of fucking boring. Uh, kind of a waste of a pay-per-view. This probably is going to be the worst pay-per-view of this year, but yeah, I mean, we have UFC 322 to look forward to in November. We got JDM versus Islam Makhachev. I'm excited for that one. We're going to be back into some good pay-per-views next month. I'm really excited to see this JDM versus Islam Makhachev matchup. We got Valentina Shevchenko going against Wei. We got Sean Brady going up against Michael Morales. We got Bo Nickel going up against Rodolfo Varela. We got Leon Edwards and Carlos Paredes. We got a good card coming up on UFC 322. I'm looking forward to it. And I believe, hang on, let's see. Quick Google. 323. It's going to be the second to last card of the year, with UFC 323 happening in December 6th. And this is going to be the last few ESPN pay-per-views before we head over to CBS. I know Gareth is looking forward to that, but we're in the latter half, the final moments of the ESPN era. It's been an interesting era. I might drop a video just talking about the greatest moments of the ESPN era in UFC, because I'm not gonna lie, this was kind of like this end of the era is kind of interesting for me. This is kind of like gonna be like, this is the era I really got into UFC. Obviously, I was there kind of for the Fox days. I know a little bit about like the Spike era, but like ESPN era was kind of where like I really started paying attention to UFC. And I think maybe going back and just taking a good look at like all of the moments that happened in this era, it would be pretty interesting. And just kind of seeing what's to come. I'm very excited for the CBS era. Should be pretty interesting, but it just gave myself a new idea for a good video. I think it would be worth it. I could give a little recap of all that went down in the ESPN era. Give Gareth a uh, little bit of a rundown of what all went down, all the big moments, just so we could prepare for this new era. Is going to be a lot more available to the fans. I'm really excited for it. No more pirating. Pirating is over. We're going to be, me and my homeboys, we're all getting Paramount Plus. We're all going to be, we will be watching the boring ass cards on Paramount Plus, but also the good fights on CBS that will be going down. I'm excited for it. But yeah, that just kind of recaps my summary for UFC. Let's head over to college football now. Week 9. It was a very interesting week. Had some interesting moments. I'm just going to start this one off with UNC versus UVA. Not going to lie, that was heartbreaking. But I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have high expectations even going into that overtime. I kind of knew we were gonna lose. It kind of felt like for a while Virginia was just toying. I don't think they were taking this game seriously at all. Uh, I'll say this: Gio Lopez actually looked pretty decent for a little while. He went 23 for 36, 208 yards passing, threw one touchdown, um, also 2 picks. But he actually kind of looked a little bit competent. Um, uh, for UVA, we had Chandler Morris. He was looking all right, threw for 200 yards, 20 for 35, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I think the main takeaway from this game is just the questionable coaching calls. I mean, I liked the call going for 2 at the end of the game. because at that point I was like, there's no way UNC is going to outlast UVA. You score the touchdown, you try to get the 2 point conversion, see if you can like go out and win this game. I like that gutsy call by Bill Belichick, but just the play call itself is a little bit questionable. Passing to uh, out to a running back that's not even past the yard line of scrimmage, I believe, if I remember that play correctly. It was just tough, kind of watch. I mean, I think it might have been the best play call, but other than that, I mean, UNC had an opportunity to take the game. They didn't. At the end of the day, I do think the better team won, but it just very unfortunate, and I hate to see that it played out the way that it did.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of fans didn't like that call, but I agree with Aiden here. You're not having a particularly great season. Any sort of momentum will pay dividends. The biggest thing they could have done for their momentum was going for two there and getting it. So I like that call. I feel like that could have been not season changing, but like you get what I'm saying.
It would have been
Like,
big. I just don't know if the play itself was the right one to call.
oh yeah, no, I agree. Like you need to go to the end zone there, in my opinion. That needs to go
Hmm.
towards the end zone. But
Yeah.
no, after that, not a great showing for NC State this weekend. Offense looked pretty good. I mean, we moved the ball pretty well. The main thing is the defense. I get first year defensive coordinator. All of our big playmakers transferred away. Everyone's down in our dumps because our big playmakers are tearing it up for other teams. Um, but yeah, moral of the story is just we couldn't get a stop to save our lives, and when we did, it hit a field goal. So it's I did like the offensive play call in this game. I liked how aggressive it was at times, but part of me thinks so. The first half of this game very much mirrored our Virginia game. You know, we're going between being down anywhere from 13-7, going back and forth, trading touchdowns, and we come out in the second half and we didn't really adjust well. What I liked that we did in the Virginia game was we realized they were scoring fast, and what do? We slowed the pace down. We leaned on our run game. We didn't really see that here in the second half. As you see, as I'm sure everyone sees on the stat sheet, Hollywood Smothers only had 8 total touches for 85 yards. He's going to need to have more touches. If we're going to win, he's going to need more than 8 touches, and it was not due to injury. Um, after after Hollywood Smothers' 65-yard run to bring it within 3, we really didn't see him much after that. And obviously, we went into the half down 10. Not the end of the world. Our offense is humming, their offense is humming. Our defense just needs to stop. And we really don't do ourselves any favors. We don't really establish the run game. We don't try to slow the pace of the game down. Pitt wants to play fast, and we played into that. So that definitely didn't help us either. Now, as for the future of Dave Doran, I know I've talked about it a lot this year, but the speculation starting to steer a lot more towards his future here is more uncertain than it was. And this isn't just Gareth upset. This is like there's some rumblings. I'm sure everyone saw Joe Ovius's statement saying that Dave Doran's likely done after this year. And then it was announced on Twitter today that the players had a players-only meeting today. So, not great looks, but Boo Corrigan is not a big fan of firing people in season. So I think the right move here is let Dave Doran finish out the season and just kind of mutually part ways. And with that being said, he has been responsible for some of my greatest memories around NC State football, some really good moments. But also at the same time, we're in year 13, and he's still using the same old excuse of we got outcoached, which you got to like the humility. But after 13 seasons, that gets kind of old. Like, okay, if you get outcoached and you acknowledge it, okay, cool. Fair play to you. But if you say you get outcoached and then it's just you made a few stupid decisions play call wise, own up to that. Don't just say you got outcoached. And I know you want to keep morale high and you want to keep the belief in you, but I think a little bit more transparency would be honest. It would be great. And I'll point to Kevin Keats for this. And now I realize Kevin Keats kind of saw the writing on the wall, and he kind of got snippy towards the end about particularly the finances and the resources we didn't give him. So I don't think Dave Doran needs to be that into the spectrum, honest. But I think just a little bit more transparency would be nice. I know there was also some other stuff released that there was a lot of turmoil in the locker room last season, particularly with a certain player not getting a lot of targets. I think we know who that is. Plays for Texas A&M now. And he said, yeah, the kind of the attitude in the locker room last year was bad because that guy, he said that player kind of really, really brought the vibes of the locker room down just because he wasn't getting a whole lot of targets, which the funny thing is statistically, he was getting targeted more than anyone else on the team by over double. Dude, I don't know what else we could have done for him at that rate. But with that being said, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We'll go on to some other interesting games around the league. One game that stood out to me, at least when it
I do
pertains,
want to say I do want to say this before we jump over to like the other Carolina matchups, because I think that's something that we should do. Uh, you did remind me of something. And it's why I'm wearing this shirt right now. You want to just
Brian
jump on
Kelly.
over to it? If you don't, if for the audio listeners, the ones who don't watch the videos but just have it playing on in the background, I'm wearing my Notre Dame shirt today, and that's for a multitude of reasons. Right now, today is a good day in South Bend. It's a good day in Baton Rouge. It's a good day across America. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Kelly has been fired from LSU, and he's gone. Listen, you say what you want about Brian Kelly. I sure will. You just can't really. He has a problem when it comes to like performing in the big time games. Uh, kind of struggled a lot at LSU. I'll never find it not funny that he went to LSU to win championships. He has failed to make the playoffs at LSU. There's very few people in this world that I will go hard on in the sports world because at the end of the day, it's just sports. Like, but Brian Kelly, I just have a specific kind of disliking to. I don't know him personally. Might be a great guy behind the scenes from what his players say and what everybody says, and none of his assistants follow him to anywhere he goes. I don't think that's the case. Nobody seems to like his presence in the locker room. Everybody kind of has negative things to say about him, but maybe he's a good guy. But all I have to say is you get what you reap what you sow. Um, he was acting all big time, big shot, putting on the fake Southern accent, and ever since he left Notre Dame to go to LSU, I kind of I was able to lift myself from the Notre Dame propaganda. Growing up, Brian Kelly was like my coach. I kind of thought he was going to retire there, and we would just kind of settle for him. But Marcus Freeman has shined a light on me. He's shown that Notre Dame can actually be a powerhouse of a school and can actually be good at football. Granted, there's like questions about like losing games that you should probably win against NIU, but I'd take Marcus Freeman over Brian Kelly any day. And Brian Kelly just has an inability to win the big games. Lost against Ole Miss this year, lost against Vanderbilt, lost against Texas A&M. These are all tough losses. But with this talent that you're supposed to be able to bring in, and you're supposed to be one of the top dogs of the SEC, you're not a top dog of the SEC. He's not a high tier caliber coach, and he's kind of just always been bailed out by either easy scheduling or being able to get like some players that are able to make some plays at times. He's never really shown to be an elite coach, in my opinion. And I think the most obvious example of that is not being able to capitalize success in Notre Dame and now in LSU. I just don't think he's that good of a coach. And I think it's a good move for LSU to move forward without him. And I hope he finds greener pastures elsewhere. I believe maybe someday he could turn it around and put together and actually build up a school instead of kind of tear it down. But until then, I'm just not impressed by Brian Kelly. I am not a Brian Kelly fan.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I will say, if you take away the personal stuff, I think the firing was a little premature if you look at who they lost to. But then yet again, if you look the manner at which they lost, there was just kind of a lack of fight, just no real like will to win there. So I think it was a justified firing on the whole when you take into account all aspects, and it'll be an interesting kind of coaching carousel this offseason. So
Yeah, I mean, I do have to say this: LSU is probably like the top tier spot right now that's open. Like, if you're a head coach or you're an aspiring head coach, the job you want is LSU. That's the best job on the market right now. You got the money, you got the resources, you got the tradition. I think it's LSU, Penn State, maybe Arkansas, Virginia Tech.
yeah, that makes sense. Where would UCLA fit into that, or do you think UCLA is going to hire their current interim?
I think they might hire their current interim. They've been doing good, but if I had to put UCLA in there, I'd put them. Okay, I think I would. I don't know if I put Arkansas over Virginia Tech, just because, yes, Arkansas has like the tradition and stuff, but they're kind of like traditionally the bottom feeder of the SEC. The upside in Virginia Tech is more. So it might be LSU, Penn State, UCLA, maybe Virginia Tech, Arkansas.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just off the top of the dome right now.
No, that makes sense.
There's
But
probably other spots that I'm forgetting about, but like those are like the main ones.
so moving on to some other teams, an interesting result in other Tobacco Road teams. Wake Forest takes down SMU in a game similar to the Carolina game that no one wanted to win. This was an ugly game. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but from what I've heard and people that I saw, they said they watched it. It was not a good game. Robbie Ashford's not even playing for Wake right now. If you're just looking back on it, Robbie Ashford appears to have, I don't know if he got benched or what, but Wake Forest comes out with a W. Looking back on it, just SMU just could not move the ball very well. I mean, Kevin Jennings was 21 of 39 for 171 yards and one interception. Usually when a quarterback has 21 completions, they're a little over the 200-yard mark and not at the 170-yard marks. That leads me to believe that Wake Forest wasn't giving up a whole lot downfield. I mean, your leading rushers got 30 yards. That's not exactly a great look either. Just look at it. This is not a good loss for SMU. I mean, I know SMU is newer to the conference. Newer conference teams usually struggle, but yeah, that's just some. And hats off to. Before I say that's just something you can't do. Hats off to Wake Forest. You're finding a way to get it done. So that's all I'll say. You're finding a way to get it done. But I don't know if
Yeah,
you have
I
anything
mean,
to say.
shout out to Connor Calvert who converted it in the final seconds. 50-yard field goal sealed the game for Wake Forest in the final seconds of the game. Uh, Wake Forest is actually looking pretty decent right now. I mean, 5-2. Uh, I mean, losses to NC State and Georgia Tech, but you're looking at the rest of their. I mean, Wake Forest is kind of like Northwestern right now, in my opinion. A 5-2 team, not getting a lot of respect, probably rightfully so, but you can't sleep on them. That's a bowl team right there. That team's going bowling right now. There's this. I'm thinking of a couple nights ago. I was watching NBA Live or NBA tonight on ESPN, and Charles Barkley. It was inside the NBA. Charles Barkley was hyping up the Charlotte Hornets, saying that team is a playing team right there, and everybody was like, "That's not really a big goal to like achieve for an NBA team because like that's kind of like the bare minimum." But like y'all are sleeping on the Charlotte Hornets the way you're sleeping on Wake Forest. That is a that's almost a bowl eligible team right there. Put some respect on Wake Forest's name.
They could even go 10-2 this season. 10-2 is still very on the table for Wake Forest.
Probably not. I mean, they got UVA, but like, we'll see. We'll see. Keep it in the Carolinas. We got Charlotte versus North Texas. Charlotte, that team right there is not going bowling. 1-7. That team is bad. 54-20. I mean, I regret that we even have to waste airtime on some of these Carolina schools, but like to keep it on brand, we keep it on brand. So Charlotte, they have a football team, and but shout out to Gareth's future Heisman candidate, Drew Mestamaker, going 608 yards passing, 37 for 49, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. I mean, he was lining it up, but also for Charlotte, Grayson Loftus, uh, Mr. Four Eyes, got the glasses going on. He threw for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns. On any given night and on any other team, that would have been good, but you're playing for Charlotte, buddy. So tough luck on that. Good luck in the transfer portal. You probably deserve better. Going over to other North Carolina teams. Let's see what else. What else was going on? I know App State played ODU. Old Dominion got the win, 24-21. App State kind of put in a little bit of extra effort in the fourth quarter to make this game look a little bit more respectable, but ODU had this one kind of in the bag. 24 points in the first 3 quarters. That's all they really needed. And ODU is 5-3 now. App State rocking at 500 right now. That right there could be a bowl team. We'll see. I still like App State. They got a pretty solid offense, and App State's App State. I think they're gonna find a way to make a bowl this year. Any other teams did? And I believe that's it.
Yeah, Duke, I think had a bye.
I'm not seeing anything about it. I think ECU also had a bye.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the top 25. Let's see. There was a pretty big, you know what? Big upset. USF versus Memphis. Memphis kind of was a little bit down and out these past couple weeks. Got a tough loss to UAB, but able to bounce back, scoring down 17 points, able to mount the comeback against USF, and USF might be out of it now. What are your
I
thoughts?
think they're done. I think they're done, personally, and particularly with the conference they're in. Yes, they've had 2 very impressive ranked wins this season, but I think they're done. They're an exciting team to watch, but if we're being honest, I know they're known for their high-flying offense, but in reality, it's their defense that keeps them in games. I mean, yes, you see all the points, but it's just because of the amount of possessions they get. Their defense generates a lot of turnovers, and it kind of offsets the amount of turnovers their offense has. Their offense is kind of, the Oprah offense we were talking about with App State last year. Like Byron Brown gives away turnovers for free, but still a good game. I mean, I think Memphis certainly is still in the question. It doesn't help that they're not undefeated right now, and particularly with the games they have left, they're going to have to. I know win outs given, but they've got some tough games. They got a road game at ECU. They've got Tulane and they've got Navy, so that's going to be really, really difficult paper that they've got a really, really difficult path if they were to want to be that group of 5 team. So who knows?
I mean, I like Navy going into the group of 5. I think they're looking pretty solid right now. Uh, I mean, just knowing this committee and how little I feel like they pay attention to the games, somehow I think USF is going to try to cheese their way in, but we'll see. Um, Vanderbilt versus Missouri. Uh, Vanderbilt ekes out another close win against a really good Missouri team. Low scoring affair, but Diego Pavia, like, listen, his stats don't wow you, but he finds ways to win. Uh, just looking at the offensive production from both sides of the ball, not very impressive, but Vanderbilt's just able to find ways to win in the moments that matter the most. And that's what I really like about this Vanderbilt team. Um, uh, Diego Pavia was able to get one rushing touchdown. Uh, McKalen Young able to get one rushing touchdown. That's all Vanderbilt really needed to secure this one. This Vanderbilt team's kind of just a team of destiny right now, and I think they need to be kind of on the lookout, especially these next coming weeks. I think they kind of have it against Texas, but this Auburn team, I'm telling you, like this Auburn team might be pulling something up against these bigger opponents. They're going to be pulling out the stops against Vanderbilt and Alabama. You got to look out for that Auburn team, but Vanderbilt's playing right now with house money, and I'm excited to see where they go. Missouri, I mean, technically you're still in it, but you have a really tough matchup after this bye week, going up against Texas A&M. You got Oklahoma coming up. It's not an easy road for Missouri to make it to the playoffs, but you never know. But that kind of sums up my opinions on the game.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Missouri down the stretch after losing Bo Pribula. I think he's probably done for the season. That injury looked pretty gruesome. So I don't think we're seeing him again. And Missouri, I think, still going to be a pretty solid team. Is still a pretty solid record, make a good bowl game. But I think when it comes to the playoff purposes, I think Missouri's done for the season when it comes to the playoff. Um,
Alabama
one
versus
game,
South Carolina.
yeah,
That,
that was a
that,
struggle bus.
yeah, that one. South Carolina kind of had Alabama's number for a little while. Like it was looking like upset. We could be seeing an upset in the making. Looked like Beamer Ball was going to be able to win the day, but Alabama is able to score 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter to seal this one. And I like this Alabama's team. They find ways to win. Uh, but I do have questions. Ty Simpson, he's great. He's great for Alabama. Had a pretty okay game. I mean, 253 yards passing, 2 touchdowns is great, but only 24 out of 43 for passing completed. This Alabama team seems to just kind of ride on the ability of Ty Simpson. And I don't know if that's going to be really advantageous for them moving forward this season. How is Alabama going to be able to respond when Ty Simpson isn't having the greatest game? In this game, we kind of see how he's able to kind of put the team on his back and kind of push them to a win. But I just have questions when we're going deeper into the season and potentially a playoff run. How is Alabama going to be able to respond to these adverse moments? You can't always rely on your quarterback. You need to create more of a rushing attack. You need to find other playmakers. You can't put it all on one guy.
Yeah, that's part of me I've been I've got weird feelings about this Alabama team. Like they've definitely put a lot of my questions to rest about them, but then they'll have a game like this. Hey, let's not saying Saban didn't have close games. I saw a clip surface the other day where Saban said, "Sometimes you're gonna have a close game," and that could be very much it. But I agree with what you were saying, Aiden, that this team seems to ride and die by Ty Simpson, and I don't think that's a recipe for success. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he's got a lot of great potential, but you cannot ride and die on Ty Simpson. I'm sorry, you cannot ride and die on him right now unless he proves otherwise. He could prove otherwise down the stretch. I'm not saying he can't, but I just think that's a lot to put on him. I know he's a junior, but he's a first year starter. That's a lot to put on a first year starter, if I'm being honest. Other games, in other words, another game that I'd like to highlight is the Ole Miss Oklahoma game. This game was a really good game all around. Unfortunately, for Oklahoma, they cannot get it done. So I think their playoff chances are done, particularly with this being a home loss and then just the manner in which they lost to Texas. This game was just all around great game by Trinidad Chambliss. He got it done. 315 yards through the air, 224 of 44 for a touchdown. Ole Miss was just kind of able to outlast Oklahoma, and it was really that one turnover, the one turnover and the safety for Ole Miss that kind of did Oklahoma in. It's just these two mistakes, and unfortunately, in these high stakes games, those two mistakes are just that can be enough. That's enough to kind of turn the tide, and that's unfortunately what happened here. I still think Oklahoma is a great team. It's just these mistakes. They're still and I know outside of Mateer is a junior, but this is a really young team in Oklahoma. I mean, their biggest playmakers, sophomore, freshman. I mean, obviously Mateer is a junior, but they're still a really young team. And I think this is an Oklahoma team for the future. This Oklahoma team's trending in a good direction. They're going to be better than last year, but I don't think they're going to be playoff contending this year. Now, Ole Miss, on the other hand, I'm not exactly sure where I fall on them. One week, I'm like, good God, they're terrible. The next week, I'm like, oh, okay, they could contend for a playoff. So I don't know. Interesting to see what Lane Kiffin will do with this team. I don't trust them, but I also don't have anything against them right now. I've got a gut feeling that's going, these guys are going to drop another game that they shouldn't. That's just usually how it is. So, yeah.
Yeah. Louisville gets a good win. Actually, no, I mean, a little bit closer than I would have expected against Boston College. 38-24. I mean, this Boston College team's not really good. I don't really like the scoreline of giving up 24 points to this BC team, but Louisville continues rolling. Cincinnati, they get a big win over Baylor. Cincinnati's 7-1. Them and BYU, I think, are kind of the top dogs of the Big 12 right now. Cincinnati's undefeated in the Big 12. So keep your eyes on them. Cincinnati offense is looking really good. Putting up 41 points. I like them as an addition to the Big 12. I mean, they have a really solid offense this year, and they're just continuing to roll. Houston gets a big win over Arizona State. This Arizona State team has been hot and cold, and for the most part, Houston was just dominating this game, but Arizona State able to get 16 points in the fourth quarter, trying to mount a comeback, but Houston prevails. I believe they're ranked this week. Houston's just one of those teams that's just not going away, so keep your eyes on them as the playoffs committee starts putting their rankings together. Let's see, what else?
It's not a ranked matchup, but one game I'd like to highlight is Kansas State. Kansas State kind of back from the dead.
Yes, definitely.
And the more interesting storyline is this is the 18th straight victory for Kansas State. 18th straight. That is ridiculous. Obviously, Kansas, they're an exciting team, but they're 4-4. They've lost some games they shouldn't have. Same thing with Kansas State. And I just like highlighting these rivalries. But I think with what was at play, that's just kind of interesting. We thought Kansas State was dead in the water. I mean, obviously, for playoff purposes, they are. But, they've kind of snuck back into 4-4. Both these teams could definitely be bowl eligible. it was back and forth game for a little bit, but at the end of the day, Kansas State just kind of pulled away in the end. Um, yeah, not a good look for Kansas, losing to your rival for the 18th year in a row. You've got people who are now adults who Kansas fans who are now
You
adults who
got
haven't
people
seen
on
them
that team that were not
weren't alive.
alive the last
Yeah,
time Kansas beat Kansas State in football.
yeah,
I mean,
and that's bad.
yeah, that's rough. That's not even a rivalry at that point.
What other games?
I got one. Keeping the trend of the Big Ten this year, where when one team looks like they're starting to gain a little bit of national recognition, immediately being brought down to earth. Minnesota loses a big one to Iowa. Iowa might actually have an offense this year. I've been saying it a little bit these past couple podcasts, but Iowa puts up 41 points against Minnesota. Iowa gets a big one. Uh, I mean, I like this Iowa offense. Able to run the ball. Mark Gronkowski, the quarterback, actually can kind of pass a little bit. I mean, 12 for 19, one touchdown, 135 yard. Not necessarily lining up the stat sheet, but hey, that's good by Iowa standards. I like this Iowa team a lot, especially coming down the stretch. I mean, they got a real tough one on the horizon with Oregon, but I think games like USC, Michigan State, and Nebraska are very winnable and in the favor of Iowa, the Hawkeyes this year.
I'd agree, and it also helps Iowa that their quarterback he's a dual threat guy. He can
Yes.
hurt you with his legs or he can beat you with his arm, and I think that adds kind of just. I know they run kind of that slow grinding pro style, but that just adds like an extra exciting like that adds another twist to the tail. That adds another thing defenses have had to account for, and I think that's really paid them dividends. Um, One game we've kind of skipped over is LSU Texas A&M, the game that did Brian Kelly in. Um, this was kind of a massacre. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that I know we've been kind of all over Texas A&M past couple years for not being able to win big games. Well, they won a big game and in a great way. I mean, Marcel Reed, in my opinion, my questions that I've had about him and his passing ability, I think have been answered. I think his decision making could be a little bit better, but when it comes to his arm talent, I think that stuff's been answered. Marcel Reed kind of did it all this game. He had 202 yards in the air, 108 yards on the ground, and really just kind of this was the Marcel Reed show.
Yeah.
Yes, he had two turnovers, but they were able to overcome that. Garrett Nussmeier, who I had as a Heisman front runner, kind of a stat line that leaves stuff to be desired. 22 of 35 for 168 and a touchdown. This LSU team just kind of looks dead. I mean, we talked about this earlier. They look kind of dead in the water. They're not exactly an exciting team to watch, and their offense is just kind of not been able to keep up this season. So, there's really not much else I'm going to say about that, but it's just kind of it kind of a fitting in to Brian Kelly's career at LSU. Just kind of underwhelming. The storyline, the headline, everything just underwhelming, and I think that fits perfectly for his end.
Yeah. Um, Moving on. Auburn gets a win in the column, beating Arkansas 33-24. Uh, Auburn kind of posing like a little bit of a comeback uh, near the end. Down 24-16 fourth quarter, they just kind of light it up and get back in the win column. Good win for Auburn. Like I said, I'm not high on them, obviously, when it comes to the playoff, but I like this team a lot. I like its grit, and I'm excited to see how they're going to be performing in the latter half of this season.
I am too, and like you said, I definitely think there's going to be a team where all these close victories, some of these victories, there's been questionable calls, and I think some point Auburn's going to snap. The the victim's going to beat the bully up, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be Ralphie on top of that bully in A Christmas Story. It's going to be ugly for one of these ranked teams left on Auburn's schedule. One game I'd like to highlight, not in the sense of, significance, but it's a team we've been following and a team that, and I've not been silently rooting for, but a team that we wish well is UCLA Indiana. This game, I predicted that the Cinderella story would end, and boy, did it end. This game was ugly. 56-6. Um, Ellis or UCLA didn't score until Indiana had 28 points. Heisman frontrunner Fernando Mendoza was only at 168 passing yards, but had 3 passing touchdowns and interception. Um, their running back Hemby on the ground had 17 carries for 2 touchdowns. Um, UCLA's offense just looks stagnant. Nico Iamaleava, 13 of 27 for 100 yards, 2 interceptions. Their running back Frias II only had 31 yards on the ground. It was not a good showing. UCLA only had 200 total yards. Indiana had 475 yards. It was just total domination on both sides of the ball for Indiana, and I really think this. Not that UCLA was a big team to beat, but I think this kind of solidifies people's questions about Indiana's ability to kind of get results.
Yeah, yeah,
And in a way that's like fits the narrative of a
absolutely.
good team.
Yeah.
Shall we go to the next week, or is there another game you want to hit?
I mean, Michigan gets the win over Michigan State, 31-20. Michigan kind of back in the showing dominance with the run game. Haynes able to rush for 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. Michigan looked dominant in this one. And Navy continuing to be undefeated, winning 42-32 against FAU. Looked kind of close at times, but Navy able to pull away. And I want to give the shout out to this one, Utah versus Colorado. Jeez, Utah just absolutely laid it on Colorado in that first half, scoring 43 points. That's all they really needed to do. This Utah offense is really, really dominant. And I don't know where they can be put in this Big 12, but when the stars align, this Utah team is really good. But BYU remains the front runner in the Big 12 in my mind after getting another dominant win against Iowa State, 41-27. That kind of sums up my thoughts on this week. Let's move on to week 10. Let's see. Starting off, we have a Friday night matchup, UNC versus Syracuse. Both of these teams have not been looking pretty good, but I like UNC to win this one, actually. I think there's kind of been a little bit of a surgence of life. UNC's been pulling it close against these past couple of opponents. I'm not high on Syracuse without Steve Angeli, and I think UNC can actually pull off an upset here. I don't think that's completely ridiculous for me to say. If Lopez can kind of put things together, I like this UNC team against the Syracuse team. So the analytics are saying otherwise, but I have a gut feeling about this right now.
I agree with you. I think this UNC team, particularly the defense, is showing a little bit of fight. They're showing some character, which I think is kind of a welcome change for the fans because I feel like the fans were a little worried there for a bit that this team was just kind of going to lay down and take it. But they ultimately showed that that's not the case. I know they still had a heartbreaking loss against Virginia, but I like them. This Syracuse team's their will is kind of broken after losing Steve Angeli. I'm not saying they won't fight, but I'm saying I don't think there will be whole lot of fight. I think UNC, is this at home for UNC or is this on the road?
This is on the road.
I do think UNC can get the job done. It may be a little difficult in the Carrier Dome, but I think they'll get it done and get their third one of the season. Going over to NC State. NC State hosts Georgia Tech at home. A much needed homestand after being on the road for a while. I like NC State in this game. I think the way Georgia, I think just schematically, this game plays into our hands. Georgia Tech, they have a very slow pace. Um, I think we want to try and turn this into a track meet. I think that's the best case scenario, with especially with how suspect our defense has been. NC State just needs to try and turn this into a track meet. Like, we need to try and score as quick and as fast as possible. Um, so last year, I mean, this is basically the same Georgia Tech team as last year, and NC State was able to keep it close on the road with them despite having 4 turnovers last year. So, and it came down to a 56-yard field goal miss. I think NC State's currently at -5.5, or Georgia Tech's -5.5. The line's slowly been shifting in favor of NC State, so I'm not sure what people are seeing there, but I like NC State's chances. Georgia Tech has had a lot of close games recently, and a lot of them I'd say too close for comfort for some of them. So I think NC State, particularly with how explosive our offense can be at times, I think that gives us a fighting chance, and I think NC State's going to upset Georgia Tech this weekend.
I mean, I
Bad for the
wouldn't.
narrative. Bad for the ACC narrative, but why not?
I mean, I wouldn't go necessarily as far as saying that NC State's going to upset Georgia Tech, but this game is looking at me kind of funny. I do see a world in which NC State can bring it pretty close to Georgia Tech, but I just don't see the defense being able to finish uh, and being able to stop Haynes King. I think Georgia Tech can really like. I think Georgia Tech's going to be able to control the ball and kind of play the game on their terms, which I feel like is going to uh, kind of do in NC State. But stranger things have happened. If NC State is able to kind of up the tempo a little bit and get Georgia Tech uncomfortable, I do see a world in which they could maybe pull it off. But I just think the defense is not going to be able to stop Georgia Tech when it matters. And I think Georgia Tech's the key for Georgia Tech is just going to be keeping the ball away from NC State's offense. And with like their rushing attack, I think they're going to be able to do that. They're going to get first downs at pivotal moments, and they're going to get the ball out of DJ Bailey's hands.
I think that's what they're going to need to do, because I feel like if this turns into a track meet, that could be bad for. Key for NC State, 2 words: track meet. Score fast, score often.
We got Duke versus Clemson. Duke going down to Death Valley. Clemson's kind of all but forgotten. Do you think Duke can pull it off in Death Valley, or do you think there's still some fight in this Clemson team?
I think Duke has the potential to pull it off, but unfortunately, I don't think Dabo is going to let them lose back-to-back weeks in Death Valley. I don't think, and I know it's not back-to-back weeks because there's been a bye week in there, but I don't think Dabo is going to stand for that. Like, I don't think that team is going to physically. I think that team's going to bow up and show some fight. I think this Duke team's going to make it interesting, and I think it'll be a close, hard-fought one. But there's no way Dabo loses back-to-back weeks in Death Valley. If he does, I think he's out. If he loses back-to-back weeks in Death Valley, he's regardless
Yeah,
of how long he's been there, he's gone.
yeah, especially at the state of college football right now. I think this is like if Clemson loses, this is Dabo's last game. But I think Dabo knows that, and I think Clemson's going to pull off the win against Duke. Um, ECU heading over to Philadelphia for a matchup against Temple. Temple 5-3. This is a pretty interesting matchup. Shame it is only relegated to ESPN Plus because this could be a pretty interesting 2 o'clock game. But I like Hauser as ECU's quarterback. This ECU team, they've had highs and they've had lows. I feel like they've been tested a little bit more and have pulled off some more success against their tests as Temple. Temple Big losses against Oklahoma and Georgia Tech and Navy, but other than that, they've been pretty consistent. But their wins aren't necessarily as impressive in my mind as ECU's. Give me the Pirates in this one.
Yeah, I've got ECU as well. I think ECU has just recently this year, they're a good team, but I think they're a victim of being a young team and having a young coaching staff. I think Blake Harrell is doing great things there, but there's been kind of some questionable play calls, some questionable decision making by Caden Hauser. Just good decisions overall, but some questionable decisions have brought this team down from the potential that I thought they could achieve. With that being said, I've got ECU beating Temple. I think Blake Harrell's going to get it done. I think he realizes it's kind of go time. Not that he's going to get fired. I know he's the interim that they hired, but I think he realizes in order to get some momentum going and salvage somewhat of a season, he's got to get momentum building for when they have in-state rivals Charlotte next weekend, and particularly get momentum going for when they've got Memphis coming to town in 2 weeks. So I think this is kind of, this is now or never for momentum for ECU. They got to get it done this weekend, and I think they will.
What are your thoughts on this Wake Forest Florida State game? So Wake Forest, like I've said, looking pretty decent. 5-2, not the worst, but like definitely some question marks. And this Florida State team, they've just been down and out. They've kind of had some tough outings lately, but the potential is there. We've seen it before. Does Florida State get it together and kind of right the ship and try to salvage this season?
This is going to sound bad. Wake Forest is 5-2. They've earned that record, but I think they're 5-2 in spite of themselves, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, they're a good win against Virginia Tech. Not that Virginia Tech's a good team. They kept it close with Wake. They kept it close with Georgia Tech. They kept it close with State, but the other games. I just think this stage is a little bit too big for them. I know Florida State's not ranked anymore, but Doak Campbell's going to be rocking. Wake Forest is 5-2 in spite of themselves. They cannot continue to make the mistakes they're making playing at Florida State. Even though this Florida State team is 3-4, I just with how Wake Forest has been playing, even in these wins, I think Florida State, they're not good, but they're talented enough where they're going to take advantage of those mistakes. The talent's there, the execution's not, but unfortunately, I think the talent here is just going to overwhelm Wake Forest.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. Like, I'm not going to let the records fool me. Florida State, despite like their best efforts of making you think that they're not a good team, the tools are there, and I believe the athleticism and just the strength on Florida State's diet is going to overwhelm Wake Forest. I think FSU gets a big and much needed win at home.
Yeah. Other games this week. Hold on, my app's glitching out. Sorry.
I'll take it from here. We got Notre Dame versus Boston College. Notre Dame going on the road to Chestnut Hill. I like this matchup for Notre Dame. CJ Carr, have yourself a game, man. Going off the bye, it's obviously every single situation is like a do or die situation. Get that win. Notre Dame's gonna win this one big.
I agree. I like this team. I want to highlight this game, but I've got a hot. I know I said Cal was the worst 5-2, 5-3 team we've seen. Virginia needs to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia needs to be careful. Their offense has not looked good the past couple weeks. When their offense is on, I think Virginia is one of the best teams in the nation when their offense is on. But their offense has not been on lately. Cal, their offense has been on. They've been fighting in games. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce their quarterback's name, but Jaron Koe Sagapalutele, however you say it, from Hawaii. Bro's been balling. I know 1,900 yards, not the best INT to touchdown ratio, but he's a freshman. He's a true freshman. Not going to fault the guy. True freshman, and he's absolutely playing his heart out. I've watched him. He's exciting to watch. Kendrick Raphael, former NC State running back, plays for them. He's been having a good year, 500 yards on the ground, 8 touchdowns. I think this Cal team's going to get Virginia. I think Virginia is going to get caught sleeping again, and this playing down to the level of their opponents is going to catch up with them. I like this Virginia team. I think they're good, but with their offensive struggles lately, I think this Cal team may jump and get them.
Not a hot take. Not a hot take. I think I actually might follow. I might follow you on this one. Just the makings for a trap game, which I feel like every single game so far has been a trap game for Virginia. Virginia's going to be caught sleeping on this one if they're not careful. Give me Cal.
Elsewhere around the college football world, we've got, let's see if there's any ranked matchups this week.
There's Oklahoma versus Tennessee. Not gonna lie, I'm not high on Tennessee whatsoever, but like this Oklahoma team, I have questions for them. Like tough loss against Texas and Ole Miss. I don't think they're gonna have it all together in Knoxville. This is a pretty dangerous game. I'm not sold on Tennessee whatsoever as regards to a playoff team, but I can see Tennessee coming away with this win.
Tennessee has shown signs of life in recent weeks. I know that Alabama score is a little. That Alabama score is a little misleading. For me, Tennessee was right in that game until that pick six at the end of the second half. Tennessee has the ability to hang in with teams. Second quarter, end of the second quarter. Tennessee has the ability to hang in with teams and keep games close, and I think I'm going to take Tennessee in this one as well. You know, John Mateer, he's still recovering from surgery, and that's still going to have an impact. I just think this Tennessee team, they're due. They're due for a big game. They're overdue for a good win, so I've got Tennessee in this one.
Vanderbilt versus Texas. Texas just kind of refusing to die from the top 25. Had close wins against Kentucky, kept it close against Mississippi State, but Vanderbilt also a team prone to like winning in these close matchups. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Part of me has got this feeling. You know, everyone's been down on Arch this entire season. Not living up to the hype. He's not this. He's not that. And you know what? I see it. You know, he hasn't been great this season. But if you actually look at the stats and look at the games, I don't think he's the sole issue with this Texas team. Yeah. 1,700 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's a better stat line than most quarterbacks in Division I right now.
Yes. Especially Power 4.
Especially Power 4. This Texas team is trending in the right direction. Mm-hmm. They got a blowout win over Oklahoma. They got Kentucky in overtime on a day where they weren't playing great. They came back and beat Mississippi State in an emotional game. They've got momentum on their side. This Texas team has proven they can get it done when it matters most. When, you know, surefire elimination was on the line. Had they lost that Mississippi State game, no playoff most likely. They're still in it. They fought back. I like Vanderbilt, but they're on the road here. Mm-hmm. And Diego Pavia has been finding ways to get it done, but also this Vanderbilt team hasn't exactly been able to light up the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. And if this Texas team fucks around and figures it out, there could be some real trouble here. And they have figured it out offensively in past games.
Yeah.
So I've got Texas winning this one. I think Arch Manning is going to kind of not silence the haters, but I think he's going to, you know, put a bookmark in it this game, kind of, you know, little bit of a pushback game. I think he's gonna not go off, but I think he's gonna have a solid game. I think he's gonna have 3 touchdowns. So give me Texas by 10.
Yeah, I kind of have to follow up your opinion. I mean, I like this Vanderbilt team. I've been calling them like they've been playing like a team of destiny, but I just don't see them coming away with this win against Texas. I look at both of these teams and I don't see playoff caliber potential from both of them. I think Texas is going to be kind of having a rough go around with Georgia and Texas A&M, and I feel like that's going to be kind of seeking into the psyche of Texas. I feel like they know this is a must win. They obviously know every single game is a must win, but this is like on the remaining half of their schedule when it comes to ranked matchups, this is the most winnable game in my opinion. I got Texas winning this one. I think the Vandy Magic's going to start wearing off. I don't I like Vandy a lot, but I just their performance against Missouri, like I predicted them to win, but like they didn't win in a fashion that I was necessarily impressed with, and none of these Vandy wins have been something that have been really like, yes, this is a team that can like really stick it to Texas and stick it to like the Georgias of the conference. I feel like there's still this barrier. We've seen how Vandy performs against teams like Alabama. I think I got to give this one to Texas.
Yeah. Um, I think going down to this is honestly probably my game of the week over here. I've got 2 games that I think would be contenders for game of the week. I've got Cincinnati, Utah.
Hmm.
This one's a big one right here.
That's the one game day is
10:15
going to,
p.m.
correct?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Um,
Finally, not an SEC or a Big Ten game day.
do I think either of these teams is a playoff team? No. But I think this could have huge playoff implications. If Cincinnati wins this, I think they start inching their way towards the conversation. You
Yeah,
know,
definitely. Definitely.
their one loss is to Nebraska.
Hmm.
Yes, that counts as a home loss, but it was in Kansas City and it was a non-conference loss because Nebraska's in the Big Ten as of like a while ago, but not exactly a home game for them. Matchup predictor has Utah as an 80% favorite on this one. I'm going to have to agree. I think this Utah team has the explosive upside and they have kind of this almost this giant killer ability this season in games where, they've kind of been, outside of the Texas Tech game in games where, they've kind of been the underdog outside of the BYU game. They've been they've been pretty big. That Arizona State game stands out to me. That was absolute murder. This game, much like that, is in much like that is in Utah. I think they're going to be able to get it done. Unfortunately for Cincinnati, I like them. I like them as a team. I think they play hard. They're a talented team. But for me, I've got Utah winning this one.
I don't know. This is a toss up for me. I really feel something about the Cincinnati team, but I just think this Utah offense is just too dominant, and I don't think Cincinnati's going to be able to keep up. It's going to be a shootout, though. I got Utah winning this one in a close one. Give me Cincinnati to cover the spread. Utah's winning this one by a field goal.
One last game I'd like to highlight this week. It's got playoff implications, but it's not in the conference you'd think. We've got Navy versus North Texas. The
Hmm.
battle for the American Conference continues. North Texas, they've been my team. I've liked them a lot. A lot of support for them. I think they're a good team, but I think there's still a lot of youth in this team. Like Drew Mestamaker, I think he's an eventual Heisman candidate. But unfortunately, he's still a little raw. He's still a little immature. He's still got some developing to do. This Navy team, much the opposite. Also very outside of talent, much the opposite. Plays slow. They're not explosive, but they're a very mature team. They're a team of a lot of upperclassmen, people that have been there, people that were there for those, 2-10, 3-8 seasons earlier on. And why am I blanking on their coaches' names? Brian Newberry's career. Blake Horvath was there for it all. But here, it's his time. It's his season. It's his senior season. Last year was Army's turn to shine. This year, it's his turn. I know they got the win over Army last year, but last year, Army was everyone's playoff darling who they wanted to go in that group of 5 spot. This year, it's Navy's turn. Navy controls their destiny. They've got a hard road ahead, and that road starts with beating North Texas. So I've got Navy beating North Texas. I just think they're going to be able to control the ball more, and they're going to have better decision making. Like I said, this North Texas team, very young, Drew Mestamaker, freshman, but this Drew Mestamaker is going to be something special in the future, just not right now. So give me Navy.
Yeah, one question I have for North Texas is how are they going to be able to perform when Navy is just keep away from them? I don't know how they're going to be able to perform under those circumstances. Navy's does what any good cousin does to his 5-year-old cousin when he wants him to rage when they're playing Madden. They play keep away, just kind of getting those first downs, keeping the ball away from the opposing team's offense. And North Texas, they can put it on. They can light it up with the best of them. But I don't know how this North Texas team is going to react to this Navy very tough offense. I hesitate to say that it's definitely not going to be a blowout because I feel like once North Texas gets the ball, it's going to be a score. But is the North Texas defense going to be able to stop Navy? And can North Texas really up the tempo to make Navy feel uncomfortable? I don't know if they have all the tools to make that happen. Give me Navy in this one.
Yeah, I like both these teams, and I wish both of them could make the playoff, but unfortunately, only one can get through.
We need a college football NIT.
We do. We really do. Is there any other games you'd like to highlight before we jump on into the National No Fun League?
So let's jump around. I'm going to jump around a little bit, give just some speed predictions. Florida and Georgia play in the world's largest cocktail party. Give me Georgia in that one.
Georgia as well. Same here.
Georgia's going to do good. I feel. I saw the memes like a while ago. Everybody was saying like November 1st going to be the greatest day in college football. A lot of the teams that we expected to do good are panning out as well. And the number one example I've seen of this, Ohio State versus Penn State. This was supposed to be a great matchup, but I don't see it being as good as we originally thought it. Ohio State's going to win this one big. Miami, SMU. Miami's going to continue their winning ways. UConn's going to become bowl eligible. They're going to beat UAB this week. Book it. Arizona State versus Iowa State. This is a really good matchup for seeing who could be in the slight upper half of the Big 12. Give me Arizona State in this one. Louisville, Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech's going to give Louisville some hard times, but Louisville's going to win this one. Texas Tech versus Kansas State. Could maybe upset potential. I don't know.
Possibly.
Give me Texas Tech on this one. Let's see what else. USC versus Nebraska. That could be a very interesting matchup. I want to see how USC performs against a running offense, but I'm not sure if we're going to be getting that with this one. I think USC is going to come away with this one. And Hawaii, they're bowl eligible now. Going over to San Jose State, a 10:30 matchup. We will be staying up to watch this.
Oh yeah,
Hawaii. Give me Hawaii in this one. We got some we got some good after dark matchups. We got Cincinnati versus Utah, so I'm excited for that. You know, the man will die, but not his ideas. Pac-12 after dark may be dead, but not his ideas. We still have
Yeah.
good peak football after 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, that kind of wraps up my college football predictions. Want to jump into the NFL?
Yeah, jumping into the NFL, Panthers didn't have a very good showing this week. They allowed the Bills to kind of just quite literally run them over. James Cook had 200 yards rushing, um, 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen had a touchdown, passing touchdown. I believe he also had a rushing touchdown. I might be mistaken, but yes, he did. He had a rushing touchdown, two actually. Yeah, not good. Um, It was looking like it'd be close in the first quarter, and then it just fell apart. Um, Andy Dalton, I like
Bro's
you,
pushing
dude, but
40 in age. Actually, happy birthday, Andy Dalton, turning 38, but he's pushing 40, both in age and passing yards.
that was a rough game. That was a rough watch for anyone who watched. That was not good. Um, Rico Dowdle leading the way on the rushing yards. My one thing would just be, I think when it comes to the depth chart, I think we need to be giving Rico Dowdle more carries than Chuba Hubbard. I think Rico Dowdle is a hot hand. We need to feed that right now. Hopefully Bryce Young's back for a matchup against the Packers because Andy Dalton did not have a good game and his most recent showings have not been great. I think it's time. Andy Dalton should stay there for like kind of like the wise, like the wisdom and the morale, but I think we need to find someone else to be our serviceable backup because that was not serviceable. That was third string behavior.
Hell, bring Russ back to Carolina.
You know what? That's a good idea. Undersized quarterback who had to learn how to thrive despite his setbacks. So you know what? That could be a good teacher for Bryce. That could be someone to look up to. Not only
Or look even with.
yeah, but it'll give someone who at least Bryce can relate to kind of schematically, strategy wise when it comes to dealing with the NFL.
Yeah.
Elsewhere,
But yeah, just not a good game for the Panthers. I mean, I'll say this: Josh Allen, like, statistically didn't have a great game, but he didn't need to. Like,
yeah,
the story of this is just the rushing attack from the Bills, and I had questions before about like the Bills like running attack. Like, are they just a Josh Allen show? That is very much not the case.
yeah. No, they were. But in other words, in other fun news, the Jets got their first win. The
Yay!
Jets, they came back and they beat the Bengals.
All four
Um,
Justin Fields fanboys rejoice.
yeah. Um, Justin Fields had a pretty good game, 21 of 32 for 244 yards. Um, yeah, that was good showing by him, kind of mounting the comeback down 14
Nah,
midway through the second.
in my opinion, Brees Hall carried this team.
Brees Hall, oh yeah, he did, but Fields,
Yeah.
Fields didn't make any mistakes though.
I've always been feeling nicey about Brees Hall, and he even got a passing touchdown in. You see that?
Game winning passing
Game
touchdown.
winning passing touchdown. I'm a Brees Hall fan.
Oh, I am as well.
I want to see. I want
Right.
to. Here's my wish. Yeah, I want to see a world where Brock Purdy and Brees Hall reunite in the backfield again.
Oh yeah.
Like, obviously, like with the 49ers, Brock Purdy's out, and obviously they have Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be continuing doing good. But somewhere down the line, 5 years from now, I want to see a Brees Hall and Brock Purdy reunion game. But I mean, that's the story of this game, in my opinion. I mean, Joe Flacco still continued to look pretty good, but you can't really rely on him in like all the time. That final drive for the Bengals, yeah, I thought they were going to try to get eventually get the field goal in, but I don't think Joe Flacco really had um, all the intangibles to kind of bring that out. Um, I do say he did get one good rush in. I don't know if you saw that. Bro had some wheels on him, but the Joe Flacco experiment's working a little bit better than I expected. But I still have a little bit. I still have some concerns about it.
Elsewhere around the NFL, revenge game for the Eagles. The Eagles get one back against the Giants, 38 to
But we
20.
lost Cam Scatterboo.
We lost Scat Pack. We lost CTE. He's definitely done for the season. Um, Not only did he have a dislocated ankle, he had a break in his tibia as well that they found. So, bro was done for the season, and I need a new fantasy running back too.
I will
Because
tell my fictional grandchildren stories about the danger, the great white hopes of the Giants,
the exciting whites.
the exciting whites. I will tell my fictional grandchildren these stories. This was an insanity run, but it's over.
Unfortunately. Other elsewhere around the league, some interesting results.
Drake May
Ravens found.
continuing.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah,
hang
no.
on. Drake May, 3 touchdown passes for the Patriots. May is cooking. Also, the Patriots are likable. Interesting. I didn't think I would see that, but Pats are cooking. And I want to ask you, Gareth, what's the vibe like in New England right now?
Um, they're saying everyone thinks he's the second coming of Tom Brady, but I think that's a little bit of unnecessary pressure is going to set people up for kind of. I think the Patriots are a good team and they're a playoff team this year, but unfortunately, I think that's going to have set some unrealistic expectations for this postseason, and I feel like that's going to leave a lot of New England fans bitter. I do think the Patriots are on their way back up, and I do think they could be a top team in the NFL in the future. But I still think there's some holes and some obvious deficits in this team. Obviously, they've got the offensive end of the ball figured out, but I think it's going to take some time. I know the Patriots they're currently sitting at 6-2, and they do have a very, very forgiving schedule the rest of the way outside of the Bills. So they could end up with a really, really good seed in the playoffs. But I think they're kind of in the terms of not in literal terms, but I think they're very similar to the Vikings of last year. They're a good team, but they're going to be, particularly down the stretch, unproven. If you look at their schedule, they've had it pretty easy going this year. I mean, they had the Raiders, they have the Dolphins, Steelers, Panthers, Bills, Saints, Titans, Browns, Falcons, Bucks. That'll be a tough one. Bucks is a tough one. But outside of Bucks, they've got Jets again, Bengals, Giants, Bills, Ravens, Jets, and Dolphins. Outside of the Buccaneers, they do not have a team with a winning record left on their schedule.
Yeah.
How many teams this season, Aiden, this year, do you think they've played with a winning record?
They played the Bills.
And the Steelers.
And the Steelers.
They've played one team that is 500.
The Panthers.
The Panthers. I do think I think they'll win the AFC East, but I think they'll kind of get fraud check's not the right word because I don't think they're frauds. But I think they're a good team, but I think there's some fluff in there if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
I think unfortunately that's going to set fans up for disappointment, even though this year is going to be leaps and bounds better. This is a monumental season for New England in their rebuild. Like this has been a fast rebuild for them. And I think that's a good thing. I think that does great things for the team and the morale around the whole organization. I'm not saying they're not a good team. I'm just saying they're kind of a little unproven, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
2 total teams with a winning record on your schedule. I consider that unproven. Yes, we'll go back to Aiden and I's conversations about college basketball last year. You know, they can't control who's in front of them. So I'm not gonna knock them with that too much. At the end of the day, you gotta and even the SEC playoff conversation last year for football. At the end of the day, you gotta beat who's in front of you, and that's all you can control. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll leave it with. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, you got who you got on your schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you want to jump over to Bears Ravens, like you were saying?
Bears Ravens. This was an interesting one for me. Ravens, I kind of thought were dead in the water, but they're able to figure it out for one game. Been pretty high on the Bears. I mean, they were 4-2 coming into this, and the Bears were looking very much up, and like their rebuild was looking successful. And not that it isn't now, but Tyler Huntley, Adams, not a game statistically, but he was able to will the Ravens to victory behind 71 rushing yards from Derrick Henry and 2 touchdowns. The big thing here, I think, is just the penalties and the turnovers. I mean, the Bears having 80 yards and 11 penalties for 80 yards, turnover, 1 for 3 in the red zone. That's not something you can do. You can't go 1 for 3 in the red zone. I know this is a different Baltimore team than we're used to seeing. This is kind of a depleted Baltimore, but you cannot have a turnover and go 1 for 3 in the red zone and lose the penalty battle and expect to win, even against the worst of them. So,
Yeah.
just kind of lots of mistakes. I mean, similar to what we talked about with, some of the college football teams. This is a young Bears team. They're young, they're inexperienced, and they're building back. They're exciting. I think they can still make the playoffs, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any more games you want to hit on before we jump to the next week?
Packers get a win over the Steelers. Packers turned it on in that fourth quarter, really pushing them ahead to win the game 35-25. Steelers, I don't know how I feel about them. Some weeks they're on, some weeks they're off. Aaron Rodgers, I think he's still playing at like a pretty high level. I mean, 219 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, but Jordan Love throwing for 360. He looked really good in this game. Big win for the Packers. Chiefs get the win over the Commanders, 28-7. Colts continue their winning ways against a pretty lackluster Titans. Broncos, Bo Nix looked really good. Had his pretty much mandatory pick at the beginning of the game, but then kind of turned it on at the after that. Looked pretty good. Buccaneers kind of had a little bit of a slow, not the most convincing of wins over the Saints. I mean, the score
Yeah.
23-3, it looked good, but I felt like the Bucks defense bailed them out a lot on this one. This Bucks team is pretty battered up, but I don't know. Something about this win kind of has me asking questions about the Bucks. Texans get a big win over the 49ers. I think the Texans, they could be looking pretty good. CJ Stroud, when he's not running around for his life and has a clean pocket, he looks really good, throwing for 318 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't think a lot of people are going to be hyping on this Texans team, but this Texas team is looking a little bit more dangerous now.
Yeah, I do think they fought their way back. I will agree. I was kind of very down on the Texans, but I'm impressed with kind of the push they've made as of late, kind of to right the ship.
Yeah, but I'm ready to move on to week 9. We got Panthers versus the Packers. I like the Packers in this one. I mean, Love just is really kind of coming into his own again this year. looking pretty good. I don't know if the Panthers are going to be able to establish the run against the Packers, especially with their defense, with Micah Parsons. I think the Panthers are going to be having a tough time. Packers, I think, are going to come away with the win on this one.
I cannot respect any team that tries to end a game in a tie. That Dallas game still sits with me. I mean, the Packers had a multitude of opportunities to win that game, and they still yet tried to lose it. I cannot respect a team that tries to end the game in a tie. Bryce Young's coming back. Josh Jacobs is questionable. Bad for my fantasy team, good for my actual team. So, give me the Panthers. No self-respecting American will ever pick a team that decides willingly to end a game in a tie when they have the opportunity to win. What?
You said no self-respecting American. I'm a pretty self-respecting American. I was picking
I
the
know.
team that I thought was going to win.
Outside of Aiden. Aiden likes chaos. Aiden's a self-respecting American who likes chaos. I'm just messing with you.
I know.
That's a fair pick with the Packers, but I'm sorry.
What I do?
I can't stand teams who purposely tie. And that was not a shot at people picking the Packers. That was a shot at the Packers. They had opportunities to win that game, and they drug their dick on the ground instead of going and winning the game outright. I cannot pick a team that
I respect it. I respect it. I respect it.
I can't respect the Packers for that, so I've got the Panthers in this one. I think booster seat Bryce is going to cook. I mean, you let a washed-up Aaron Rodgers kind of bitch you around for 3 quarters? Fuck no. Give me 5'8" booster seat Bryce to win this one. Are we even going to acknowledge Thursday Night Football, or are we just going to pretend like it doesn't exist? Because I'm happy pretending like it doesn't exist.
I want to pretend like it doesn't exist, but you know what? I'm going to say the Ravens win this one. The Ravens are bad, but I feel like they're fundamentally a good team. The Dolphins are just bad.
The Ravens are at least fundamentally sound when it comes to their offense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mid matchups this week.
I mean, Lions, Vikings, give me the Lions.
I mean, Bills, Chiefs. That's the big one. Bills, Chiefs.
Yeah, that's the kind of the big one. Everything else. Ooh, Broncos, Texans. I want to talk about this one. You know, I like this Broncos team, but I don't know. Something about Houston right now. I feel like they're kind of hitting their stride. I think Bo Nix, yeah, he's been hot, but like he has been prone to make some like kind of boneheaded mistakes and gets kind of bailed out by it. Give me the Texans in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on this one. They're kind of finding their stride right now, and things are starting to mesh. And Broncos, they're able to get a big win over the Cowboys, but in recent memory, they've been kind of struggling. I mean, they struggle with the exciting whites of the Giants, And I know the old adage, on any given Sunday, but this is an offense that's explosive. The team's well-rounded. Well, at least more well-rounded than Dallas. And I just think the momentum's on the side of the Texans right now. So give me the Texans.
Yeah. Steelers Colts looks pretty good. This Colts team is pretty solid, but like something about the Steelers at home kind of has me questioning if like the Colts are going to remain hot. I got the Colts winning this one. I think Taylor is going to have a big day running. Daniel Jones is going to continue his dominance. I feel like the offensive attack for the Colts is definitely going to give the Steelers a real hard time, especially for their defense. And I don't think the Steelers offense is going to be able to keep up on the abilities of the Colts being able to utilize both the run and the pass.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Steelers at home is kind of, there's just something about it. I agree that it's going to create trouble for the Colts, but I'm going with the Colts in this one. I just think they're set up well. Um, this isn't usually a team you think about when you think of like big rebuild. I just think the pieces have come together at the right time. This team feels a lot like the Detroit Lions. They've got their guy at quarterback, but they've got a sound offensive scheme. It's not overly complicated. They've got a good offensive line, and they've got guys who execute, and a good running back. So give me the Colts this one. And
Chiefs,
Danny Dimes.
yeah, Chiefs and Bills. Um, I'm still pretty high on the Chiefs. The Bills have had some question marks, especially with their loss to Atlanta, but uh, silenced any doubts that I had. Just absolutely checking Carolina. Um, I don't know. I think the adage of Bills being good during the regular season and the Chiefs like beating them when it matters most is going to continue. Give me the Bills to win this one, and then in the rematch in the playoffs, the Chiefs are probably going to win.
I'm gonna agree with you here. I've got Buffalo. The Chiefs did not look very convincing in their win over the Commanders.
Commanders.
There was a lot of drop passes. Two of Patrick Mahomes' interceptions that day were because a pass hit the receiver in the hands and it bounced out. Um, so yeah, and just really kind of unconvincing football as of late, Chiefs. So I've got the Bills in this one. I mean, unconvincing football from both of them at points this season, but hey, that's the NFL. So I've got the Bills.
Sunday night football, we got Seahawks versus Commanders. I mean, the Commanders have got to be able to like get it together eventually. But
Yeah.
I think the Seahawks team, Sam Darnold's been putting up almost an MVP caliber season right now, looking really good. I think the Seahawks got this one in a big way.
I agree. I'm going with the Seahawks. I'm not sure if Jaden Daniels is going to be back, but I'm not even sure if that's going to be enough. I just feel like this offense is just missing something this year. I can't place it, but even with Jaden Daniels, this offense is missing something.
Cowboys Cardinals Monday Night Football. Cardinals. I mean, they've looked pretty good when Jacoby Brissett has been playing. I think Kyler Murray's still out, so I assume he's going to be starting. But Dak Prescott, has been cooking, especially against teams that have been lackluster. Give me the Cowboys to win this one, getting back to 4-4-1. I know you're going to love that pick.
The Cowboys, a tie. The Packers tried to hand you the win. They tried. They really tried. You fought your damnedest to stay in that game. I'll give you more credit. You did play out of your mind that game,
Yes.
but
That tie was more of a Cowboys win, in my opinion.
it was. But at the end of the day, they couldn't take advantage when there was a mistake at the end.
That second was a lot longer than I don't know. Black Magic was had that game.
This Cardinals team has been giving some of the better teams runs for their money. They took the Colts to the wire. They took the Packers to the wire. Something about an NC State quarterback paired up with an NC State running back is just getting it done for the Cardinals right now. Give me Bam Knight and Jacoby Brissett to get it done this weekend against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, up and down, unproven. Cardinals, up and down, unproven. Anything can happen. That line's 2.5 for Dallas. I don't know. I think I'm gonna be a Dallas hater for right now. Give me the Cardinals. I got the Cardinals winning this one. Any other games you want to highlight outside of the just toilet bowl that is this week?
No,
Well, I think that'll do it for us this week, unless you have something else like other. I mean, we already did MMA,
we
so yeah.
already did MMA, so I think that's going to sum it up. I mean, we can give a little bit like update on the World Series. Toronto's up 3-2. Main takeaways, this has been a very entertaining World Series. That game, I believe it was game 3 that went to like 17, 18 innings. That was crazy. I think I still honestly, I think this series has potential to go to 7 games. Uh, has the makings of probably a very classic World Series, but I don't necessarily know who I'm going to be rooting for. I mean, you got the Dodgers on one end, and then a team from Canada on another end. I'm just here to watch reluctantly.
Yeah, I'd care a lot more if it were, the Mariners or like obviously the Red Sox. I'd care a lot more if it was like the Mariners or someone who hasn't won it in a while or and who isn't Canadian. So
Yes.
yeah. But with that being said, I think that'll do it for us here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.